and surrounding area. Tiger Talk is brought to you by... And Tiger Talk brought to you this morning by Whistle Stop Donuts, Stream Beans Coffee House on Lower Main in Princeton, Hancock's Neighborhood Market on Commerce Street in Katie's delicious homemade goodness, and Perry's Floors and more.
Make the morning great with a stop at Whistle Stop Donuts on West Main Street in Princeton. Whistle Stop makes their donuts fresh daily, and they're ready on your way to work or school. They have a wide variety of fresh donuts, so you can surprise the office with a dozen delicious donuts. Stop by Whistle Stop today and enjoy a donut or a dozen. They're open 5 a.m. to noon Monday through Saturday. Whistle Stop Donuts on West Main in Princeton.
And good morning. Welcome to Tiger Talk on this cold Thursday, January the 4th. Had the pleasure of welcoming to Tiger Talk this morning, Brother Harrell Riley. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Well, we're glad to be here. New year, new opportunity.
That's awesome. Yes, it is. It is a new. You start the new year. You kind of get that sense. Okay, the slate's wiped clean. Whether it's weight, whether you want it. Your life has changed a little bit, but there's a lot of hope and there's a lot of potential excitement about a new year.
Well, new year, new day. I often, as far as being resolved or having a resolution, a will and a desire to do something, I think ought to be in us all the time.
Sure.
But we've culturally made it at the first of the year. I go on the theory that Scripture tells us not to look back, that putting your hand to the plow and look back, you're not worthy for the kingdom. So I think you need to know where you've been so that you know what's going on. But ultimately, looking forward all the time is the best route. So, in looking back, however, as you've given me liberty to be on here, we want to thank folks because there's a couple of things that we would just say, and that is we know that last year in ministry, we saw almost 2,000 people come to Christ, which is phenomenal, exciting. It's beyond words, actually, for us.
Right.
In that, for those of you who follow us and keep up what's going on, all the volunteers and coaches and folks that are out doing what they do, we had over 800 people in the Department of Corrections graduate from our classes last year. 84 different graduations, meaning every week there's at least one graduation in the facility somewhere across Kentucky, Tennessee, and we're fixing to start back up in Alabama. Last year, a tornado took out one of the prisons, and it delayed our programming, and one of the biggest classes that we've ever had is down in Alabama, and probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks, we'll be starting back there again. So just be mindful of that. Now, a big marker for everybody that was a challenge, and I will say this, a definite challenge with Soul Quest. It's in the books. It was a blessing. 7,000 folk out there on the grounds, people's lives being changed, countries from all over. We had a blast.
It was fun.
Yes, sir. It's fun. Now, for those of you who don't know, one of the folks that came on board with us, they had the bee display and some other stuff. You never know what's going on in people's lives, and you never know what's going to happen once you've connected to them. But one of the people who were heavily involved in Soul Quest about 3 weeks ago was crushed by an automobile and left the planet. So not only are the events important, but we need to remember that people are important.
Sure.
And all these things we talk about, the key component to it, as the business world would say, our greatest asset is people.
Mm-hmm.
Greatest asset in our community, greatest asset in relation to what we're doing, and ministry is people. So the third thing would be we had the opportunity, and God blessed us with that building, the new building there on the corner on Main Street, and been much progress there. People continue to ask us. Hopefully by the 1st of February, we'll be able to get in that building and have the store up and running, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But That's our goal, and then progressively through the year with some of the other things going on, try to get that completely up and function in the way that we see it happening.
It appears, and I know for a fact, HR Ministries and the other outreaches that you have that are involved with HR, a very busy 2017.
Yes.
Yes. And it's amazing what the energy level that that your staff are doing. Let's talk a little bit more about you talked about your 84 graduating classes in all your prison ministry that you do. Now this includes Malachi Dads and the different types
Rubies for Life.
Rubies for Life.
We have a parenting class.
Okay.
And then we have a feeder class. We call it Beginning with the End in Mind. Close to 30,000 folks locked up in the state of Kentucky in Class D side, which is the prisons and Class D areas of our jail systems. They all go through a if you will, evaluation time.
Okay.
At what's called Rotary Correctional Complex. So we get the liberty to greet and meet, in a sense, every inmate that's been locked up in the state of Kentucky. Okay,
really?
That have been sentenced. Let's put it that way. Because during that evaluation time, we make that class offer, and probably 50% of them that have been locked up during that season will come in, hear what we got to say, and then we'll get 25 or 30% of that group to take class. And so part of that graduation. Plus we have a parenting class, and we have a Celebrate Recovery that's inside the fence as well.
Right.
So.
And then obviously you have an army of volunteers in all these locations that help you implement.
Yes, sir.
But I know you're quite involved and are quite a butterfly, hitting all these locations up. But I know you have a vast network of volunteers that help you implement these ministries.
Ultimately, there's probably, for those that are listening, 250 plus people on the ground at any given time during the week doing ministry. There's not a day on the calendar that there is not a worship service, a class, or an opportunity of ministry from Monday through Sunday. We have three worship services inside the Job Corps that we serve on Sunday that were initiated by us on federal facilities. It's not basically supposed to happen in the eyes of the world, but we have worship services on those campuses. We also support and encourage other things on Sundays in different areas, but at the same time, when summer gets here, we'll have the fourth one, which is at the campground. And then
where is that?
We're at Indian Point Campground. We have
that's right, yes.
a summer program down there all summer and encourage folks down there. But that being said, those 250, there may be 20 over at one prison tonight handling 2 or 3 classes, and there may be 5 or 6 at a different one. And every night there's somebody somewhere, including on Wednesdays, we're covering Job Corps during the day and some of the prison classes and stuff as well. So yes, it's very busy, and it takes a small army. Now that does not, exclude tie those people who are participating in what we call special events, and probably not in that 250 officially. Would you count the one person who serves maybe once every 2 weeks or so down at Joseph Storage Bin or some situation like that, volunteering for especially items that we've called them out for. But down at Joseph Storage Bin, there's a rotation of at least 10 people, and that does not count the community service folks, and that does not count the programming people that we plug in, nor does it count the benevolence hours and folks that are participating with us. So we are working better at trying to keep up with hours and volunteer hours. We don't get a whole lot of energy put into the details sometimes as far as numbers and crunching figures and all those kind of things. We just
get it done.
We get it done, and I would say it goes back to what I said. The greatest asset is not stuff, it's people. So when the people are out there, that's the success in it.
The thing that amazes me about your work is that all this, a lot of this goes on kind of under the radar. You kind of hear little spits and snippets about a Ruby or a Malachi Dad, or about, we're going to be at the Job Corps, and you see little Facebook snippets or you see little things, but there's a whole lot more
Yes.
of what's going on, and it's changing lives. It's changing thinking, and it's amazing. It really is with what how how many years you been doing this now?
This will be the 17th year that I started over at Job Corps Morganfield, which
that's where it all began.
Yeah, which developed and escalated through what I call the experiencing God mode, just paying attention to what God's at work and getting in the middle of it. And people have been drawn to that. People have been participants in that. And the reason for that, I believe, is I think that everybody has a calling, and everybody that's listening to us right now has some giftings. And if you look in the Scripture, it mentions joy regularly. One of the reasons that you see a lot of, I hate to say it, but sad sack people, they don't seem to have any joy, is because they're doing a lot of stuff that there's no fulfillment in it. Well, when you can find a niche or a groove where you're fulfilled in it, it brings joy to you. And when it brings joy to you, when you say energy, I believe that's just the joy of the Lord. It's just the energy that comes out what God's doing with you, and it's effective in other people's lives. So if you're looking for a place to be, God may have given you something to do. We want to be an outlet for that to happen. Yeah, for prime example, SummerSlam.
Yeah.
People like music, okay? People have the ability to do certain things with their own background, where they work and other stuff, and that's one reason Tori kind of leads the show on that, as far as connecting musicians and getting things in order, and his aptitude towards encouraging businesses to be a part and promotion, and it all just fits together. And it's a lot of extra work.
It works.
I mean, and it involves their business and other stuff, but at the end of the day, there's joy in that. So at the same time, it doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but it doesn't take away from what they're doing. It actually accentuates, enhances who they are, what's going on, and at the end of the day, it affects other people. It affects the community. So I would say in that we want to be an avenue and outlet for business and other folks to be engaged in what's going on, because if we're not making a difference, we're not doing anything. And there's a whole lot of stuff that's not making any difference. So that being said, we don't know when SummerSlam is this year, but it is on radar screen. I think
it'll happen.
It'll happen. If you count Soul Quest, this will be, and I'll have to check with Tori, this is not the 10th year, but this will be the 10th annual event. We had 1 year where we doubled up. So this would be, I guess, the 9th year, but the 10th major event of that process. So we may mark that and do something with that.
That will be a summer
yes,
activity.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
it will not be a 3-day event, however.
Right. Yeah, it'll be, you usually come in, you have a full day of music and activities and ministry.
Yes.
It's not going to be another Soul Quest. Because
I dare not say it's a one and done. We will never do it again, but we're not looking for another 3-day event right now. I'll put it that way.
Right. You just have to see where everything leads you as we get closer.
Yes.
Let's take a short break. Let's take a String Beans coffee break. We'll come back and we'll talk some more. You've got a big agenda there. We want to talk about how 2017 was and where we're going in 2018, and everything that's going on involving HR Ministries and the things that you all do here in the community and elsewhere. So we'll be back here on Tiger Talk. It is 8:17, and we'll be back after this String Beans coffee break.
String Beans Coffee House in downtown Princeton specializes in made-to-order espresso drinks. Stop by Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to noon and enjoy a pick-me-up. You can also enjoy fresh-baked scones, homemade chocolate chip and oatmeal raisin cookies, and espresso brownies that'll keep you going all day long. They're also open on Saturday from 9 to 2. String Beans Coffee House on Lower Main in Princeton. Great coffee and more in a great atmosphere on Lower Main in downtown Princeton.
Killing me.
A cup of Joe down there at String Beans and fancy coffee, or just a good old cup. It's a good on a day like today. I can tell you that. And Brother Harrell, I'll turn it back to you.
Well, as you mentioned them, and you close out our conversation with SummerSlam and other things. Of course, they were involved in that event, and the proprietors of String Beans, and they've got some giftedness and skills, and they try to plug that in and have done some other things. So right now, currently, they are working on their calendar to try to get in on our quarterly events that we have over at Job Corps, whether that's at Morganfield or Greenville, we don't know yet, but their group, their crew. And so, again, we feel like we're an outlet for people to serve and an outlet for people from the community to come together and have a bigger impact than just Princeton, Kentucky, or Caldwell County. Many of the facilities we serve in, many of the things we do, to be quite frank with you, are international. There are 40 different countries at Job Corps at any given time. When you look at what's going on inside the prison system, you're covering multiple states as well as all over the state of Kentucky having an impact. P-Town's got, in Caldwell County, 15,000 plus people. It's in the physical, it's a small footprint, but we can have a large impact if we want to. And so we want to be one of those avenues where the people of Caldwell County and Princeton can have that kind of a footprint, not just physically, but in the public, impacting what's going on. And that's important. So folks like String Beans can be a part of that by using their giftedness and talents and going and doing what we do. And also, I'd say this with the two that we've mentioned, and not to leave anybody out, there are multiple ones in our community that through their business, in the ways possible, help support what we do in HR Ministries, whether that's the resource they have or one of the things I was going to mention, we have several teams that come here.
Right.
Some of our proprietors are gracious and encouraging, meaning the restaurants and folks, they're glad to receive them. They're glad to deal with them. Some of them give them a little discount. The lumber yards and everybody else, when they're spending their monies to do the projects that we do, whether that's, dugouts or
like
helping.
You did a lot of work out at the ballpark.
At the ballpark or helping little old ladies here in town, whatever that may be, in the mix of everything else we're doing that we've mentioned. It's important that those businesses and folks know that they're a part of that process too. And so when they're willing, right now we know that we have a crew from Missouri coming, a crew from Northern Kentucky coming this summer, possibly a group from Crew, which is Campus Crusade from Christ from Chicago area and Ohio. They're bringing their teams together to come down and spend the weekend, as well as some of the other schools and University of Cumberland's. So you're bringing influence in here from different cultures and different atmospheres that are a blessing, and so all that's important. Now, those people from the outside are important to what we're doing here because they have an impact that sometimes we can't have in helping people, as well as supporting us in what we do. And I mentioned a minute ago Alabama. A team of almost 100 came from Alabama about 4 years ago. And I go back to that not the physical footprint, but our influence on the rest of the world. We will be starting back up in Alabama, hopefully in February. There was a tornado down there.
This is your prison ministry.
Tore up the security and the fence in the building. So they had to put some things in order. So our program was delayed, or I don't want to say stop, but just put pause.
Right.
And so that will be reconvened in a fresh startup. But the reason I'm mentioning that is that group came to Kentucky to help us. Through that process, the influence of them going to the prison with us and other things got opened the door for us to be in Alabama, to influence the federal facility. And in that, where all does that reach? They're to just be quite frank with you, there are people that were influenced, saved, and changed in ours that are still dealing with ICE, and they end up in Louisiana getting ready to be shipped home. But they're going home with a message, and they're going home with a different attitude because of people who showed up in Princeton, Kentucky. Now, that's a big picture, but I think folks, when they see buses driving around here and people doing what they do, need to understand that their support and encouragement in that can be a much bigger picture than what's going on the tally on their financial sheet or other things. It's I go back to the same statement I made earlier. It's about people.
Yeah, I mean, you're changing lives. You're changing lives.
And people in this community need to know that they are and can be a part of that process just simply by doing what they do and allowing us to do what we do. Now, that's a kind of a strong statement, but it's true.
No, I think you can prove it. I think the proof's in the pudding, just like you just said there.
One of the things that not necessarily close with, but tie all that together in our statements, many people are asking about Joseph's Storage Bin, and we run into dilemmas and difficulties, and we're appreciative that the community and those that are in positions, even though they have some tasks to deal with, are sometimes I'll say gracious. We don't have any control over what people do, but at the same time, we got to work together.
Right.
Well, just for people's mental thought, we cover a lot of stuff. We've helped with utilities and other things, but one of the blessings in communication and connection in the community is dispatching the police, and that's the city police and the sheriff's department, communicate with us very well. During this coldest part, probably the last 4 weeks, we've had at least 3 telephone calls a week from dispatch of what culturally we would call homelessness. It's not necessarily homeless, but they're in situations where they ended up here in Princeton, don't have any gas.
Maybe sleeping in their car.
Too cold for all that. We come up with methods, and through the process, encouraging them, we can get them taken care of. Now, we're not going to go raise a flag on that. Often, sometimes we if we're not careful, we have to be sure we don't draw problems to us, but we deal with the problems that are around us. So if you look at that and you average one a week, not only that, the electric bills and other stuff, the electric plant board does a good job of helping us and keeping informed and helping us build bridges for families to be sure things don't get cut off. It's all a part of that process. So right. When you drop off your goods at Joseph Storage Bin, when we move to the new building, it's more than just a building. It's more than just those goods. That turns into finances. Those finances help. Just to be honest with you, not just those things, but we were able to be one of the sponsors of the Hoops Classic.
Yes.
We're able to be a sponsor of, and when I say we, I'm talking about the community.
Yes.
You know, you give your blue jeans and your housewares, that's turned into some pocket change, if you will. Not only that, the people who have a need or who have a budget that allows them to do better, they're influenced by that. Not only that, we're putting some people to service that can work through their problems at the courthouse and other stuff. So we're benefiting on different realms there, but the end result of it is the community is helped. So we challenge you, continue to give to that, and we'll be faithful to try to, the best of our ability, deal with the people in the community. And we do have rules, and we do have some processes to help people with, and the reason for that is, Ty, we won't be able to answer your question. You know, a lot of people sometimes get frustrated with things. Well, we have to have an answer for everybody. So application process, interview process, a plan put in place. That way, if Joe Blow comes and it doesn't work out right, we've done the same thing with everybody. Yeah. And in that process, I can answer the person who's trying to help them. I can answer that person. I can answer the next person. I can answer the government. I can answer the pastor. I can answer the person who dropped off the blue jeans and the
right.
housewares. So it's not without thought or provocation to do it in a fashion that helps the whole community. So
right.
I challenge you this. A lot of times, though, don't let us be an excuse. I think of that when I think of the story of the Good Samaritan. Oftentimes, people will unfortunately call us and say, hey, there's a homeless dude or somebody begging for money at Walmart. Well, you're the one that crossed their path. I'm not being ugly. And so if you cross their path and you see that need, maybe you engage them, and if we can help you do that, good. But don't let it be relied totally on us to do it. Now, if you don't know what to do, we understand that. So, yes, we receive your calls, and we're glad that people are paying attention to folks. But I just challenge you, if you do know what to do or that's laid in your path, don't be the priest or the leader who walked by. Be the one who began to help them with that. Now, if you need to do that and bring them to us, those kind of things, amen. But I just challenge folks not to make us the excuse.
Gotcha.
Let us be the helper to you as you do what's in front of you. So
yeah, and that enhances, everybody really.
It does.
It really does. So we were talking about the building. Joseph Storage Bin is definitely going to move there. You're going to have offices there. Do you have a certain timetable as to when this all might occur, if you want to elaborate on that and talk about the new building? And
we basically have put things in 3 phases,
mm-hmm.
4 maybe, and our hope is, and we don't have a time frame because, just to be honest, we're at the mercy of trusting the Lord, and in that trust in the Lord, we depend on people and we depend on folks giving, okay? We do not depend on those people, and we do not depend on what they've given us. We're dependent on the Lord. So sometimes what we would like to do real quickly, we have to wait until people see it or give to it or do. So our first goal is to get the store open downstairs, which hopefully can be done by the 1st of February. This cold snap knocked some volunteering out,
Right.
Some
Sure.
things going on, but we're getting real close. We need some more, I guess you'd say, supporting getting the heating and air in order there, and some other small situations. So financial encouragement, and that's a blessing, but again, the Lord will bring it when it's supposed to happen. But first is get the store. Then we want to move our offices to town, which means we got some work to do upstairs. Then we want to get the banquet room and the community room up and functioning. And
that's in the works.
Yes, sir.
Wow. So let's since you mentioned that, let's talk about that. Tell
Okay.
us how that can be utilized by HR ministries, by the public. What are your plans
Okay.
for that banquet room?
One of the first things you'll see is downstairs there is what we call the shelf. It's a large platform that's above the store that's in the first floor. We're going to begin a program called Moving Forward. There's a lot of people that need stabilization and moving forward from the situation they're in. So we're going to do some training, equipping, partner with Celebrate Recovery, other things. So that's happening in that building. Now, upstairs, when the banquet room is open, we hope to make it available to people to have small events, maybe meeting room from time to time for certain things. I know that Ignite Princeton, other things,
Yes.
there are times when people need a gathering spot. We hope to have that available for that. For us, it'll be used for training and equipping, as well as fellowshipping and other things that we do. And who knows what else will happen with it. But when we say public, of course, go back to our, what I said a minute ago, there'll be limitations and rules and directive with wisdom. But
Sure.
but our goal is to be able to enhance what's going on downtown and to support and encourage. It might be that the Kiwanis or the Rotary Club meets there once a quarter or something, just as a different spot or whatever that ties into ministry we're doing, or
Right.
community affairs where we need to bring
Yeah.
all those clubs together to get something done for what we're doing. Maybe support and encouragement to those that are first responders. That kind of thing can be done there.
Right.
So,
You can break bread with people from time to time, have a
Yep.
meeting, just
Yep.
whatever. Okay.
The fourth phase would be, I guess you'd say, and they may intermingle a little bit, would be the restoration of what we would call a prayer center in the upstairs. There'll be a seating room and some other stuff up there, but that had always been a highlight spiritually for a lot of folks and a lot of visitors. So it will not be what the Methodist Church had, but it'll be a spot where people can be challenged to come together and to visit the need for our communication with the Lord and enhance that opportunity. And so that and continuing to make opportunities. I just challenge the community to realize that I noticed that there are many houses that are up for rent, and that means that their people are missing. There are a lot of folks that we're working with that, yes, we can help them with the immediate danger and trouble, but we need jobs here. So whatever we can do to help enhance that and encourage that, that's what we want to do. And so reports say that most of the biggest businesses that are running in America today started out as small business in a small town. So we need to be a part of encouraging the community in that fashion. So we hope that the building being downtown and things of that nature and connecting the dots with the civic and the secular and the community, along with what we do with what the rest of the world would call religion, might help. I don't really believe it's religion. I believe it's people with a relationship with Jesus Christ making a difference. So they can call it religion if they want to, but if we can get those things together to enhance and get business and opportunities for folks and get people out of the hole, we all win. So
I would agree with that statement. Well, obviously, lots and lots of things going on.
Crazy.
But it's good work. It's work that's changing people's lives, obviously. You've been at it for 17 years. This ministry has grown and grown and grown. It's got you've weaved a web far beyond, I'm sure, your wildest dreams. But like you said, you just kind of listened and kind of took off. and you just did what God told you to do, and that's how it's been.
That is true. Sometimes you stop and scratch your head, going, "How in the world did we get into all this?"
Yeah.
And there's not to be honest with you, some people, there's not a stepping off place. I think, and the reason for that is, I make this statement to folks when we're doing training: if you do what you do and leave this planet, nobody's doing it, you didn't do anything. So at the end of the day, if those things continue and people are doing those areas, whether I or somebody else is around, then we win.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not that I'm vitally involved in all of it. Like you said, kind of the butterfly effect. I get to be bounce in, bounce out. And it's the day-to-day volunteers. It's the people God's called to it. It's the people like SummerSlam leaders and folks that's going to take their band and they're encouraged by it. Going back to what I said earlier about joy, that's what I like doing. So it's not about pay. It's about the joy of doing what you do.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, anybody I think that's not blind can see that. How can somebody that's listening, either from via the World Wide Web, here locally, Facebook, how can they get hooked up with HR Ministries if they're hearing this and go, man, this sounds like something I want to get involved with? Let's tell everybody how they can get involved with this, anything that you do.
As we mentioned, because there's so many people on the ground and we manage in life, we do have some, I hate to say it, but rules.
Yeah.
And so the best way to get started is contact the office, 365-6044, or go on our website. But we have a volunteer application, and that application highlights several areas you'd be interested in. And then what we do is we make sure somebody gets with you and talks about what's going on with you, what we got going on, and we don't assign you somewhere, but we kind of figure out which direction we ought to tell you ought to go look at. And then folks just kind of meander through it and find their holes. So I'm not one to demand or command folks to do anything. So if you're interested, I will say this: we need you.
Yeah.
We need you somewhere.
Yeah.
And so.
And it might be one event a year that you do. It might not be that you commit yourself to a class at a prison, but it might be you show up and you're there all day SummerSlam or whatever it is.
Here's what I know about people, though. There's a hankering and an emptiness sometimes for believers and folks, and maybe you wouldn't claim yourself to be a Christian. Maybe you're on the fence trying to figure all this out. I would say to you, come join us. Unfortunately, it's not really what the Scripture says, but it's true. Seeing is believing. And a man told me one time, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but an experience is worth 1,000 pictures. So come get in the middle of it, see what you see by doing that, then we'll take some pictures.
There you go. Yeah, and, we're not talking about any certain denomination or whether you're a believer or not a believer or whatever. You just, they need you, and if it's something that you feel like you might want to check out, then do so. And that website is
You can go to hellisreal.org and it'll take you over there, or hrministries.net.
Okay.
Either one. If you're struggling with trying to remember to communicate with us in any realm, just remember Hell is Real, and you'll get there.
Yeah, that's the one that kind of you kind of remember that.
Yeah.
I think.
And on a regular basis, people go, "What in the world's that about?"
You did that for a purpose, didn't you?
The Lord did it.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed when we drive down the road, and of course the truck had it on the back of it, and our trailers got it on it, and you can pull up in a stoplight, especially if you're in a place like Louisville or in Cincinnati or somewhere else. They'll stop, and they can't almost drive off from the stoplight because they're over talking about, that thing says Hell is Real on it. What he said, Hell is Real. Is that? Can you really do that?
It happens to be your initials too.
It does, but it has absolutely nothing to do with me.
Right. No. Well, man,
Jerry Reynolds from down in there. Just so you know, Ty, there are folks from Middle Tennessee and Memphis and Louisville, St. Louis. There's a whole passel of them on here from all over. So again, we want to take what goes on in this community we live in, 15,000, and make an impression on the rest of the world. Not just a physical footprint, but we can make an impression on the rest of the world.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Man, I tell you, a lot you're busy. You got a lot going on, and we encourage you to go to Hell is Real or hrministries.org. and 365
6044.
6044.
You can join us on Facebook, and we print a lot of things and put stuff up. And one of the things about that, Ty, is if they're following on Facebook, there's always event postings and other stuff that just kind of follow us a little bit. There may be something you just trying to figure out, do I really fit? I believe something will pop up. You say, hey, I need to check that part out, whether that's the music, whether that's Job Corps, whether that's, something will pop up that gets you attention. When it gets you attention, just message us. I promise you we'll get you plugged in.
All right. Well, thank you so much. A best 2018 to you and your ministries and everybody that's working around the country, around the world for you, literally, for what you guys do. I mean, it's incredible.
Well, we appreciate the radio station. Of course, you all know we're on air at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning.
That's right. Crosstalk.
Yes, sir. Crosstalk. Grateful for this avenue and venue, and grateful for what Ty does in managing this place and connecting the dots for the community. Listen, it's all important. We're tied together in partnerships in different ways, and
No
the
doubt.
reality is, again, let's make a bigger impression than just a physical footprint here in Princeton, Kentucky.
There you go. Brother Harrell, thank you so much for joining us today on Tiger Talk. And again, a great 2018 to you and your ministry, and we appreciate you so much.
God bless.
All right. You've been listening to Tiger Talk here on your hometown radio station, WPKY. Brother Harrell Riley with HR Ministries. Hope you enjoyed the show today, and we invite you to tune in Monday through Thursday for Tiger Talk. And don't forget that coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, it's the Times Leader Sideline Report with Todd Griffin. He'll be in studio here, and we'll have that show for you at about 9:03. Thanks again, everybody. On behalf of Brother Harrell Riley and HR Ministries, Tying a Bright, bidding you adieu for today. You've been listening to Tiger Talk here on your hometown radio station, 103.3 FM, 1580 AM, WPKY, The Tiger. Have a good day, everybody. Hancock's Neighborhood Market on Commerce Street in Cadiz is the place to shop for delicious homemade goodness. Hancock's makes the